Hello YouTubers, this vid will cover the ThruNite TN4A. This is the cool white version, and as with my other recent reviews, this will just be a quick unboxing and mini review. So within this box, as with your recent lights, you get the instruction manual, the TN4A itself, which comes with a nice holster with a Velcro quick release and a permaloop and a nylon D-ring. Excuse the lighting, I'm trying something new because I want more natural lighting versus the artificial fluorescent, which screws up the white balance of the beam. So throw into comments whether you like it or not. I'm just trying new things until I get my LED overhead lights. So anyway, the accessories include a wrist strap, a translucent switch cover, as well as 2 spare O-rings. And if you saw my mini TN30 review, you will know I love my Chiclets. Oh yeah. Anyway. Enough of that. In case you didn't realize, no, I didn't actually eat the Chiclets. I should say the silica gel. So what I actually did was I grabbed a pretzel, and as I was about to, made that motion, I munched on this instead. So the curiosity about why it says, throw away, do not eat, right? There's always this warning, and I've always wondered whether these things were toxic. So it turns out that these things, per the source in the URL above here in the caption, they are not toxic. The main reason why they tell you not to eat these is because it's a choking hazard. So as you can imagine, there are a lot of tons of little beads in here. So if you swallow them, especially for kids, it's a choking hazard. Plus, not to mention, it's artificial. It shouldn't be in your body anyway. So, but in case you were curious, I looked it up for you. The TN4A, it's pretty much like their recent lights, right? So the mini TN30 as well as the TN36, except for the fact that it has a single emitter, and it does run on 4 cells, but 4 AA's instead. So it's a very nice small light, as you can see here, by comparison to their mini TN30. But at the same time, though, in consideration of that, it just goes to show, man, how compact that mini TN30 is as well. But anyway, regardless, the TN4A runs on 4 AA cells. It features an electronic switch. Unfortunately, though, there is no lockout with it, like their other lights. That's one key feature that I really wish they would include, so hopefully maybe on a future revision. But it does feature a single XML2 emitter in this reasonably deep light orange peel reflector, so it gives it a pretty smooth beam. As with the mini TN30 and TN36, the electronic switch does light up in any mode other than Firefly. Now this LED does turn from blue to red when the batteries reach a low state, so that way you know to either replace them or recharge them. So case in point, you see here, this is in Firefly mode, and that blue light doesn't come on. And I think that does make sense because in Firefly mode, I figure you're in survival mode, right? You really want the battery to last, so it's nice that there's no additional draw from that LED on the side as well. Plus, there's no distraction that you're using in that super low mode. You don't have that distracting blue light there. As with their larger lights, the TN4A does run on 4 cells and uses a battery carrier. But as mentioned, this uses AA's. It is identical that it runs in 4 in series, 1 in parallel. Again, in layman terms, what that simply means is that if you took out one of these cells, you would break the path and it would not be able to run. So you must always run it on 4 cells. Now, it could run on anything from nickel metal hydrides to lithium primary cells, as well as alkalines, but again, please don't use alkalines. They're horrible cells. If you need to in a pinch, great, but if not, please don't use it. It's going to leak and cause a mess, so you don't want that with your lights. The maximum voltage is 8 volts, so you cannot use 4 lithium ion cells, so 4 14500 cells. As shown in my mini TN30 review, the path is the center has the positive path and the outer ring carries the negative path. And these legs here, these 4 hex bolts, as you can see, also do carry the negative return path as well. So you gotta be careful not to short it out between that and the center. Now, of course, that center node is slightly recessed, so it should make it pretty difficult, but I don't want to say impossible because, hey, if you have an object that's so up and across it, you could short it. Now, I'm not certain if this does have a built-in fuse, like say on the Sunwayman battery carriers. If you had opened these up, pancake between there was a tiny little either resistor or something that acted like a fuse, so once you short it, that's it. You will have to replace the entire battery carrier. And unless you so happen to have that replacement resistor chip or whatever that was that needed to be replaced. So as you saw, I took the battery measurements with this out of the light. This doesn't, this is self-contained, meaning in the sense that either end, it's duplicated, so you can insert it this way or the other way. Once the 4 cells are installed, you just got to, again, be mindful of not shorting it out. Case in point, as you can see within the tube, there is no spring or anything of the like. It just pretty much is, a battery tube, and all of that path is made directly with the head of the light itself. Now, say if I really press that down to simulate that I've connected it, you will see that the light does operate. Now, as with the Mini TN30 and the TN36, it does have a completely flat base, allowing it to have very stable tail stand or candle light mode. Unlike the Mini TN30 and the TN36, it does have a attachment point for the included wrist strap. Now, the only thing about this is it's a little bit sharp here in the corner. I don't know if you can make that out. It is a little bit sharp here, so you got to be a little bit mindful about that corner right there. I mean, it is fully deburred. By sharp, I really mean just the angle shape, not that it wasn't nicely deburred. So something to keep in mind. Plus, not to mention, I guess over the long run, as you can see, it's relatively thin, right? So don't know how that would stand to, like, say, an impact right on that corner. The grip on the light itself does offer added grip, and like I said, this is a smaller form factor, so it fits in the hand really nice. So I have medium-sized hands, but again, as I covered in my Mini TN30 review, or pretty much anything that has this kind of like, chunky soda can style, if you had any wrist ailments, perhaps this may not be the best form factor. Maybe a single 18650 size light or smaller might be a better choice. So to cover off on the output levels, I do have the exposure locked right now so that you could distinguish it. There is a low, medium, high, so with the light off, a single quick press will turn on the light in the last memorize mode. In this case, this is low. And then with the light on, if you press and hold, it'll cycle through medium to high. Now, it does have memorization, so if you last left it on medium, shut the light off, turn it back on, it is memorized. And that is memorized through battery changes as well. So as you can see, well, because this is an electronic switch, it doesn't turn right back on. Turn it back on, it is memorized. Now with the light off, if you press and hold the switch, it'll enter Firefly mode. As you can see there, it is on. And then from any mode, if you double press, it goes straight into turbo mode. And then an additional double press would enter the strobe mode. Now the Firefly, turbo, and the strobe modes are never memorized. So just to show you the difference between high and turbo mode, that's in turbo. And this is back down in high. Now here's how the TN4A stacks amongst its competitors. So on the left hand side you have the TN4A. In the middle you have the Sunwayman's D40A and JetBeam's SRA40. Now again, these are all 4-cell AA lights, and the smallest one, I would say, at least in circumference size, is the Sunwayman D48, but overall length is a little bit longer than the TN4A. And then last but not least, you have the, comparatively a little bit the largest of the light amongst the four is the SRA40. Now, overall fit and finish, I would say that probably the SRA40, because of the fact that it just has much more mass. I mean, this thing really is built like a tank, right? So you could use this maybe as a hammer or whatnot. But owing to its overall mass, this just feels like rock solid. It is also a single piece overall, so meaning that this entire length here, the head is not removable, right? The tail cap in is. So it's pretty much, I guess, hewn from one single solid block of aluminum. The D48, by comparison, being the most svelte and skinny, I mean, again, feels reasonably solid, but, doesn't have the heft and mass of the SRA40, right? And then last but not least, I could say somewhere in the middle is TN4A. Again, very solidly built. I would say I've been reviewing their products for many years now. I really do see the advancements that they have made in overall fit and finish quality. I think with the very first light being the original TN10 and 11, those were not bad, but it had, like little things I would say qualify as a diamond in the rough, if you will. But their most recent products have really picked up. This does come in a HA3 finish, which is the hardest of all the hard anodized coatings. All the corners and whatnot are fully deburred, and the light itself just feels very, very solid. So if you were shopping between these three, which would be a logical question, is like, which one should I get? To be honest with you, they're all very similar. They're all in the rough neighborhood of 1,000 lumens. I think this one's probably the highest. I would say what you should probably focus on is the overall UI, because it is very different. Sunwayman's D48 implements, like, there's actually two electronic switches here to change the modes as well as turn the light on and off. Likewise for the SRA40, it also does feature 2 switches as well. So again, it's a different implementation, and I would say you should probably focus on that because again, overall fit and finish about the same, overall illumination about the same, even beam distance. Of course, this is not a smooth reflector, but still very reasonable. They're all in the rough ballpark. So I would say again, focus on the UI and what's important to you. I did forget to mention that one thing the SRA40 does have over the other two is a built-in charger. But overall, I found this to be not terminating quite correctly. It tends to want to overcharge the cells. But hey, in a pinch, at least it is built in. Although you do have to carry a wall wart, but probably a little bit better than carrying, I don't know, a separate charger adapter overall size if that was a concern to you. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well. So again, you really can't go wrong with these 3 lights. So as mentioned, just focus on the overall UI as well as which beam pattern fits you the most. Looking at the overall beam profile, as you can see, the D4A has the tightest overall beam width and a very tight hotspot. SRA40 is probably next, and the widest of them all, probably owing to the light orange peel reflector as well as probably a slightly shallower depth. The TN4A has a much wider beam profile. I do have this locked in on cloudy white balance mode, so again, that tint color is reasonably close to what I see in real life. Perhaps the SRA40 is not that blue. It's a little bit lighter than that. But overall, I would say that the TN4A probably has the most neutral-ish beam of the 3. Although, again, this is a cool white version. But here you can see if I shine this down, right? Center hotspot extremely tight on the D40A versus the TN4A. And then the SRA40. And let me just pick up all 3. It's probably in the middle between the 2. And that pretty much wraps up this review. As mentioned, until I could get a consistent repeatable process for measuring the beam pattern as well as the tweaks to my lumen measuring device, I'll get into a deep dive as well as, outdoors comparison shots later on. But for now, this wraps up this review. As part of FTC disclosures, the ThruNite TN4A as well as the other lights were provided by their respective manufacturers for review. Thanks again for watching.